I am Muhammad Babur, the founder of the Mughal Empire. I was born in the city of Andijan, in the lush Fergana Valley of modern Uzbekistan. I am a direct descendant of the great Timur, while on my mother's side, I trace my lineage to Genghis Khan. It was my destiny to carry forward the legacy of these mighty ancestors, though the path to greatness was fraught with challenges. I was only 12 years old when I ascended the throne of Fergana following my father's death in 1494. A boy ruler in a land of shifting allegiances and ruthless rivals, I faced challenges from the start. My kingdom was small and surrounded by enemies. I had to grow up quickly, learning the art of war, diplomacy, and survival. I led my followers across the snowy Hindu Kush mountains and seized Kabul, a city of strategic and cultural importance. Here, I found a new base of power and a fresh start. Kabul became my home for the next 2 decades, a place from which I launched expeditions into neighboring regions and cultivated my ambitions. In 1504, by the early 1520s, my gaze turned southward to Hindustan, a land of immense wealth and opportunity, but fractured by internal divisions. The Lodi Sultanate, led by Sultan Ibrahim Lodi, ruled much of northern India, but its power was waning. In 1526, I crossed the Indus River with a modest yet determined force. At the First Battle of Panipat on April 21, 1526, my disciplined soldiers, armed with artillery and superior tactics, defeated Ibrahim Lodi's army. With this victory, I became the ruler of Delhi and Agra, marking the beginning of the Mughal Empire. But my conquest of Hindustan was not yet complete. In 1527, I faced Rana Sanga of Mewar, who sought to drive me from India. At the Battle of Khanwa, my forces triumphed again, securing my hold over northern India. In 1529, I defeated the Afghan chiefs at the Battle of Gagra, consolidating my power. Though I was a warrior, my passions extended beyond the battlefield. I loved beauty, whether in the natural world or in art and culture. I chronicle my life in my memoirs, the Baburnama, a work of unmatched candor and literary brilliance in a distinct Turkic dialect. In it, I recounted my triumphs and defeats, my joys and sorrows, and my observations of the lands and peoples I encountered. I wrote of Hindustan's vibrant flora and fauna, its rivers and cities, and its unique customs. My memoirs remain a window into my soul and my times. Though my rule lasted only a few years, I laid the foundation of the Mughal Empire, blending the cultures of Central Asia, Persia, and India into a rich and enduring legacy.
The Mughal Empire, one of the most illustrious and influential dynasties in Indian history, was founded by Muhammad Babur in 1526. This empire established a legacy of centralized governance and cultural syncretism and left an indelible mark on the subcontinent through its art, architecture, and administration. The foundation of the Mughal Empire was a result of Babur's military prowess, strategic acumen, and his ability to capitalize on the political fragmentation of northern India. Muhammad Babur, born in 1483 in the Fergana Valley, modern-day Uzbekistan, was no ordinary ruler. Descended from Timur on his father's side and Genghis Khan on his mother's, Babur carried the bloodlines of 2 of history's greatest conquerors. Yet his early life was anything but easy. At just 12 years old, he inherited a small and unstable kingdom. Ambition, however, drove him to dream far beyond the borders of Fergana. In his youth, Babur's attempts to capture the Timurid capital of Samarkand showcased his determination. Though he briefly held the city, he was unable to maintain it, forcing him into a nomadic existence. Yet, every setback strengthened his resolve. Eventually, Babur shifted his focus southward, toward the Indian subcontinent, a land of immense wealth and opportunity. In his memoirs, The Baburnama, Babur reflects on these early struggles with remarkable honesty. He describes not only the hardships of losing Samarkand, but also the beauty of the lands he encountered and the camaraderie of his followers. These writings give us unparalleled insight into the mind of a ruler who saw himself as much a poet and historian as a conqueror. By the early 16th century, northern India was fragmented, with the Delhi Sultanate under Ibrahim Lodi struggling to maintain control. Babur saw his chance. Armed with advanced weaponry, including artillery, a rarity in India at the time, Babur's forces were disciplined, innovative, and battle-hardened. His decisive campaign against Ibrahim Lodi would forever change the region. Babur's use of gunpowder weaponry, particularly cannons, was revolutionary in Indian warfare. He introduced Central Asian military techniques that relied on mobile field artillery and effective coordination between infantry and cavalry. These strategies would prove decisive in the coming battles. The First Battle of Panipat, fought on April 21st, 1526, marked the beginning of the Mughal Empire. Babur's army, though outnumbered, utilized superior tactics. His use of field fortifications, combined with flanking maneuvers and the devastating impact of gunpowder artillery, overwhelmed Ibrahim Lodi's forces. The result? A resounding victory that left Babur the master of Delhi and Agra. The battle was a turning point. It not only marked the end of the Delhi Sultanate, but also set the stage for the Mughal dynasty, which would rule India for over 3 centuries. Securing Delhi was only the beginning. Babur faced resistance from Rajput confederacies led by Rana Sanga of Mewar, one of the most formidable leaders of the time. In 1527, at the Battle of Khanwa, Babur's forces clashed with the Rajputs in a fierce contest of strength and strategy. Once again, Babur's ingenuity and military acumen triumphed, solidifying his control over northern India. The Rajputs fought valiantly, but Babur's use of defensive positions and his cavalry's agility proved decisive. He also invoked the concept of jihad to rally his troops, emphasizing the cultural and religious stakes of the battle. The Battle of Khanwa was not just a military conflict, but a clash of visions. The Rajputs, under Rana Sanga, sought to resist the Mughal influence and reclaim dominance in northern India. Babur's forces, numbering around 20,000, faced a Rajput coalition more than double their size. Babur's genius lay in his preparation. He fortified his position using the Ottoman-inspired tactic of a Taloma formation. Rows of carts were linked by chains to create a defensive barricade, with gaps for artillery and musketeers to fire. Cavalry units were stationed on the flanks, ready to encircle the enemy. The Rajputs launched ferocious charges, their bravery unmatched. However, Babur's artillery wreaked havoc on their ranks, breaking their momentum and causing chaos. His cavalry exploited these weaknesses, flanking and encircling the Rajput army. The battle ended in a decisive Mughal victory. Rana Sanga was severely wounded and forced to retreat. This defeat crushed the Rajput coalition's hopes of halting Babur's advance, solidifying Mughal dominance in northern India. Following his victory at Khanwa, Babur turned his attention to the fortress of Chanderi in central India. In January 1528, this stronghold was under the control of Medini Rai, a Rajput leader who had supported Rana Sanga. Babur sought to eliminate any remaining opposition to his rule in northern India. Chanderi was a well-defended fortress, perched on a hill and surrounded by natural barriers. Medini Rai's forces were prepared for a siege, but Babur's strategic acumen once again proved decisive. He offered Medini Rai terms of surrender, promising safety for his people. When these terms were rejected, Babur launched an assault. Using scaling ladders and coordinated attacks, Babur's troops overwhelmed the defenders. The siege culminated in a tragic act of jauhar, a ritual mass immolation performed by the Rajput women and children to avoid capture. Medini Rai and his warriors fought to the death, choosing honor over surrender. The fall of Chanderi further cemented Babur's dominance in northern India. Yet, it also highlighted the fierce resistance of the Rajputs, whose valor and sacrifice would remain a defining feature of their history. Though Babur's reign was brief, lasting only 4 years after the foundation of the Mughal Empire, the seeds he planted grew into one of the most influential empires in history. His successors, notably Akbar, Jahangir, and Shah Jahan, would expand upon his vision, blending Persian, Indian, and Central Asian cultures to create a rich and enduring legacy. From the majestic Taj Mahal to the administrative reforms that unified vast territories, the Mughal Empire reshaped the Indian subcontinent.